Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you for your kind invitation. What we are going to discuss now is a different topic, but also related to politics, governance. In that case, we are more focused on Europe, which is the Europe plan about the decarbonization, which is the topic, or better, which is the target that Europe would like to achieve, and in which way. So first of all, we can start with an introduction. So Europe has their own plan in terms of how to reach the target. The target is, of course, to reduce the quantity of energy or the source of energy to produce power. We don't produce power by power. We produce power by several other sources of energy. Part of them, unfortunately, are fossil, with the impact in terms of environment and so on. So this topic can match also the AZG metrics, if you would like to think in this way. And from technology point of view, AI will be the main instrument in order to manage the data that Europe is going to collect. So first of all, Europe is providing a lot of financing for each country of the European Union in order to reduce the quantity of fossil. If you go across Europe, you can see that there are countries that are producing power mainly with gas, for example, or carbon, but there are other countries instead that are producing power mainly with wind, solar, if you think Spain, if you think Germany, if you think Netherlands. So they want to, of course, would like to achieve some average between each country that is at this moment part of the European Union. The way that they are going to do it is to fix some targets in terms of date and when they would like to achieve this kind of results. So at the moment, mainly, okay, and hopefully, within 2030, so in 5 years, which is not so long time, so in 5 years only, there will be a big change in terms of average in the Europe how we produce power. And the mainly topic is how suitable and sound the network will be. So if you think the crash in Spain and France and Portugal and the reason of the power cut, right, it is still gives some concern about it. But anyway, the point is then to have some precise target and going forward, how this efficiency and national target can be achieved, and how many financing and investment Europe is providing to each country, which is in terms not only or directly in terms of financing the infrastructure, but also financing university to build precise instruments, as we are going to see shortly. So then there is a target, there is financial support, but there is also precise choice in terms of how we do it. So one of the topics that we listened before is, okay, we use AI to manage so many data that we are going to collect, mainly to share information by building local grids. So is co-location. So the network will be more sensible and fine in order to catch the information customers by customers. So you will have a lot of information that you are going to collect by single customers, not all industrial, in order to have sensible data hourly, each 15 minutes data, how is the position of the country. So you will have the net position of the country. If you think, quoting some of data provided that is for free, ENSO-E or ENSO-G, right? They are collecting a lot of data. You can use this kind of data by API, and you enrich the system because each actor on the market can have the same data and can build over this data the model that they believe on the basis of their own strategies. Well, how this data after that they will collect it and by each actor on the market, right? It is a matter of artificial intelligence. Within artificial intelligence, we can find so many algorithms in this moment, and at this level is not important. But what is important is, in order to use AI, you need before to normalize this data. So it doesn't mean that across Europe, everyone needs to speak the same language, everyone needs to have the same kind of a data structure, everyone needs to share the same information in order to make the system more effective and efficient. So step by step, then Europe is kindly asking or imposing, right, how to build this kind of infrastructure, how to manage the grids, providing standards in order to collect this kind of data. And as we know, AI is data-driven. So you need to have the same data structure. After that, you can absolutely understand the position of the country and how you are managing your flexibility across the network. As you know, power produced by wind and solar is just an expectation of how much energy you will catch the day after, the day ahead, right? So what is missing in your expectation, your forecast, will be provided by, for example, by the flexibility of gas. And within the gas, you can find a lot of other subset. So now is green gas, for example, a new technology that is coming from New York, from US in general, so which you are going to produce gas by some kind of process that will use plastic bottle, okay? In the UK, we are just discussing to use the bottle that are coming from Germany, right, to produce green gas that at the moment there is no certificate to do it, but you can use to burn and to produce power by that. So AI then is, can be used to forecast more carefully and more precise how much energy will be produced by solar and by wind as well. So there are publications across academia. What is important that the European Union is clearly challenging universities across Europe, paying researchers in order to build instruments that will be for free. Then the challenge is exactly so Europe has the plan, what they want to catch. They are financing and supporting countries, but also researchers in order to produce Python packages. So I'm a quant. That's why I'm reversing engineering, and from the Python package, I arrive to the regulators. So the regulator is giving the instruments and the direction how to do it, in order that every quant, so most of them, they can use the same instruments, the same library, and they can catch or can share results in order to make the markets more effective and efficient. So there is a clear understanding which is the needs. Then you can think more infrastructure, more investment, but each investment not necessarily will be made by the single country, but can be done by important company. They can invest and they can own the infrastructure. European Union is just focusing on giving the rules and asking to match the criteria and to match the standard that they want. So, as in the past, the energy network was more national managed. Now, in order to save money, is allowing private to build and to invest more money in the infrastructure, they will own infrastructure, under, of course, the standard of the European Union. This is more or less what they are trying to do. And, without going inside the technical question, so we arrived to the point that I was sharing before about the academic side. So on one side, then we have a clear understanding, which is the plan. On the other side, the challenge to produce instruments that can be shared is, let's share some slides, is to produce concrete libraries that will allow each quant to understand node by node how much is the energy that flow. So in order to build some fundamental models, stack models in technical speaking. And this will, of course, help on one side the regulators in understanding how much CO2 emission we are producing. We think, for example, the PPA agreements, how to cover and hedge the risk of the PPA for long term, for which you are providing, the country is providing the credit or covering the credit risk on this side. On the other side, we are producing electricity, we are financing infrastructure. So these instruments that allow me no advertising, but I want to share because it's extremely important that each quant can have some instruments sharing information and creating community around it, because as we have the experience quite, that happened a few days ago for the shortcut in half of Europe. So when this happened, unfortunately, each system collapsed. And from the airport to the restaurant, you cannot find nothing that works properly. Then to have a clear understanding, node by node, to be able also to govern from mathematical point of view, to optimize everything across the grids, can on one side be a challenge in terms of revenue, right? Before we have, I had the opportunity to listen one talk that was very interesting about electric batteries. And how you optimize electric batteries was on one side giving the hope to the customers to reduce the cost of electricity, but on the other side, as I saw the usage, it could be instead be used just to maximize the profit of the owner of the batteries. That's why there's a gap in terms of regulators. Maybe some rule will come in order to match, but this rule can come just because regulators can have a clear understanding and monitoring how the flow of electricity is going between countries. This is an example applied to Germany, and you will have exactly the splitting of energy, and you understand the freight between different regions of the same country. So you will have a clear understanding of the flow of energy, and this information will be shared between each trader, or each trader that is an asset trader, physical asset traders, in order to understand the flow, the hourly flow of the power between different regions of the country. You need to understand and you need to think that power, when you produce power between different nodes of your network, you produce power between A and B and AC. When the power arrives to C, because for physical law, you need more power to reach far point, and the prices will be different. So you will have a different price for each node of your network. And will be, as it happened already in New York, but they are a little bit more advanced, and some banks own the network, okay, in US. So you have a local auction for your grids across the country. So you will have a lot of opportunity, and you need very capillary instruments to understand which is the position, which is the challenge. Of course, there are many data providers that are, it's their business. The European Commission is trying to be also part of it. The database is called Zenolo, you can find online, and provide this kind of information, provided by university, by researchers, and so on. Then the challenge is to, again, to find a compromise between also private company. They are maybe in the future owning less, or they have maybe more competitors across regulators, which will use this kind of instruments also to apply more sophisticated rules and to manage the price for the customers. So for sure there is a different interest between the private and the public, okay? But these instruments will help regulators to provide more careful information. Sorry. Yeah, I don't see very well the slides in compromise. Okay, fine. And AI in all this picture, right, will, of course, help to manage this data, manage this information. We cannot think that there will be just some operator. So you need, of course, massive usage of AI that is capable to read and to understand across huge network, because for a small country, let's come back, for a small country, so Germany is not small, but for just one country, you have several way to produce electricity. You need to balance the system. At the same time that you are producing energy, you are transferring the energy to balance the system, maybe in another country. We can think the flow that is between France and Germany. And France is, of course, based on nuclear, so there's not much flexibility on that. But on the other side, Germany on one side with wind and Spain on the other side with the solar, they are providing instead this kind of flexibility. So France is in the middle. Belgium as well is with good composition between nuclear gas and power by solar, but we can think south. For example, Italy, we are taking from Azerbaijan soon in 2027 more gas, so the system will be longer gas. So there is no incentive to maybe to switch to wind or solar because we are long gas. So that's why the flexibility can come from south and can be used across north when renewable energy are not available. So there is a strategies where each country, or Austria is very strong in hydro or hydrogen in the future, and will be maybe impact also the cost of the gas storages, which is still high, honestly, with the advent of electric batteries, where the challenge is how many circular batteries there be alive. So there is many parts of this challenge to produce power in a green way, which are interesting, which are open a lot of opportunity, but also from mathematics and from development point of view, these new packages, this advantage to have a researcher that are working with targets that are targets mainly close to the social and environment and governance. So it looks that the European Commission is driving also the academia to reach some more social target, right? So he's financing a lot of research grants across many of these projects start in Frankfurt University, but now there is many application in Pisa University and across the world. They are pushing also in Africa, try to understand how we can build really a global network, okay? So usage of AI then is crucial, okay? And we remember in terms of a conclusion, then the European Union has a target that can be distinguished between long-term and short-term. The short-term is 5 years, long-term can arrive until 2050. The usage of AI will be a core in terms to manage this kind of data, and the usage of a researcher will be absolutely a core point in order to build common instruments to manage this kind of data. This is the list of publication for which you can absolutely find topic related, right? And for sure, you can start for these quants in the Plotea, so to look for this PyPSA Python package and participating activity to the community. Yes, if you have any question. Let me come back to the topic of content, yes.
Any questions, please? I think they are already, yeah, please.
So my question is, how do you use AI for predictions for weather? Do you use it for regression analysis or classification analysis?
Yes, what we need exactly is to build, and they are building this smart grid in order to collect data. They are already providing this database, right, that is by API available. Then there is interaction between company, right, and European Commission, so the European Union in this case. Then, yes, you can do it by auto-regression. So machine learning or technique based on AI is just statistical learning, multidimensional statistical learning. The advantage that you can have in inputs, many kind of inputs, and you can have a better prediction by maybe by principal component analysis. You can distinguish which is the driver of the movement of your price, of the movement of the consumption. You can have a better understanding of the stack model, so the fundamental analysis will be more accurate. But yes, the first point is to build this kind of database is already available, right? More time we spend, more time, and longer will be the time series available for your prediction.
I think one more question is, how do you manage value at risk and Sharpe in the market, in this market?
Yes, it's a good question. Usually the point is that the market is not complete, right? And when it's not complete, the market, you need to find some related market, assessing with the right liquidity and product to do it. It's a challenge. And of course, you are opening, you can hedge this risk, opening other risk, that is logistic spread risk. And from bank investment perspective or stock exchange perspective, I expect they arrive on the market also the products that will make this market more complete going forward.
Thank you, Mario. A big round of applause for the Mario wonderful presentation. And
Thank you.
we will be going into the next session now. This is a continuation of the current session. Next one will be a panel discussion, and that is also a technological innovation in risk management and led by industrial experts from the industry. Please come over the stage for the next session. This is the last session. And just an announcement, after this session, we have a very nice cocktail party outside the exhibition area. Please join us over there after the session. Okay, welcome.
Afternoon, everybody. We might as well get on with the last panel of the day. So this is tech innovations in risk management, challenges and opportunities. Quick word, why does it matter? I think we saw in April with the volatility caused by some of the tariffs and the trade wars, why risk management matters. I think we also see with some of the innovations with AI and things like this, why the technology matters. So it seems quite a relevant conversation to be having at this time. On the panel, we've got two people from vendors in risk management, Alvaro from Radar, and Ben from Broadpeak. And then we've also got two people from the business side, Dirk from Cargill and Mario from Petro Ineos. So the first question we're going to address is to look at where are we now? So an overview of the current landscape. What is risk management technology in 2025? And if we could start by talking about some of the challenges on the business side. So we'd start with you, Dirk, please.
Okay. Let's start with me. So from the business side, first of all, Dirk Roberts, I work at Cargill. I'm business and digital transformation in EMEA. And from the business side, I can tell you it's messy. So we are in the ag space, which is, like I mentioned, a messy space. We start at the farm and we end up on somebody's plate or in a factory where it gets transformed into an ice cream cone or something else. And everything in between for us has to do with transportation. It's actually supply chain based. So serving the world is moving goods around. It's not just like talking about it. It's actually moving goods as well. And in that landscape, you can imagine that we have peoples in the field, guys and girls in the field talking to farmers buying goods. We have a more, let's say, macro level trade obligation that we have. We try to shift those goods across the globe, and then we again go into a local realm. In that realm, there's let's say, a high speed of exchange of data, but there's actually a low level of accuracy because it goes by email, Excel sheets, despite the fact that we have CTRM systems or other systems that we use to transport that information. And information loss, not knowing what's going on, that is where the risk for us comes from. added to the weather risk, crops can go bad, there can be something else that goes on. I like the explanation we had before here, where you have a surplus somewhere and you have a need somewhere else, which increases the price of transportation. Luckily, in our field, we have silos. So to manage liquidity, we have just big concrete stuff that we can fill up. And in the energy world, we're missing the complementary element, the battery. But for us, it's still manual labor that actually takes care of the risk side.
So a lot of fragmented data and manual processes are some of those challenges on the business side for you. How about for you at Petro-INEOS, Mario?
On my side, to be fair, I see that inefficiency is also opportunity. So the main way that you make money is exactly knowing a little bit more than your counterpart. Then the efficiency can be also good. So I know that maybe I'm the devil in this moment, but yes. So the problem comes when you need to hedge your risk, your physical risk. And then you need to take your position from financial point of view, and then you need maybe to play with FX, and there is no anymore right FX curve, right? Everyone is fighting. So then it's coming more the issues from financial point of view. Then I'm not so afraid about the inefficiency in terms of information. I'm more afraid about the financial issue when you build your FX curve and you need to hedge different currency across the world for the production, on my point of view. This is my, my concern.
Yeah, which touches more on market volatility and things. So that covers both sides of the conversation, which is neat. What about the challenges on the vendor side? What challenges are you finding, Alvaro?
Yeah, so I think when you think about transformation, I think what Mario said was very interesting, because I think for a long time there was a certain naive view on risk management, that the goal was to have absolute transparency. And I think, with a couple of decades passing, we understood that the trading is precisely always trying to find whether transparent is not. So I think the challenge is really to be ready for that and just build technology that really finds the juice in the data that is not obvious. And I think that's where the challenge is.
And same question to you, Ben.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that completely. I think a lot of the commodities industries, when we've been working the last decades even, there's always been the risk of over-specializing our tools. So we've got particular challenges to solve, we've got particular workflows that we're trying to adhere to, and now that we're getting into a point where, frankly, the more data, the better, or where we get able to run really complex and really interesting and deep analysis, finally we have that power and that tool set coming online. Now the question, I think, is, are our tools ready for it? Have we over-specialized into an area where we now need to draw back? And I think, speaking for ourselves, I think for a lot of vendors out there, is making sure that we're clear that we're not siloing our own technologies, we're not siloing our solutions, and we're being open to kind of challenges to how we leverage the data we have, how we apply it to the markets, and what we surface to users who are trying to work with that day in, day out.
And sticking with the vendors, I mean, what opportunities specifically do those challenges present? I mean, we've just touched on it there, but I mean, like a few examples that maybe you're seeing new business lines, you're developing new software. I mean, is there anything new that's coming from technology to take care of these opportunities?
Yeah, so I mean, the buzzword comes to mind, of course, right? AI. But I think if the AI revolution brings something, is the need to really get a grip of the data, right, and have that clarity. I think it's still out there how much can be done in terms of, how can I do more with the physical prices and the physical markets that I have compared to what my classic econometrics could do, right? And maybe there will be some really important movements coming in. I think, honestly, at this point, we don't know yet, but I think that's where the question is and the chase is at this point.
And Ben?
So, while agreeing with that, I also would think sometimes in terms of post-trade and disruptive trade practices. When we look at things like operational risk, what we see is that historically, when we deliver solutions to customers have to make some not necessarily tough choices, but some very deliberate choices about what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. So we see this a lot in things like alerts processing or thresholds for activating a surveillance process, where we ask our customers, okay, what kind of cutoffs are we looking at for different products or different processes or different activities that you would rise to the level of concerning if you look at as a human. Well, now that we have machine learning and AI tools really making it into the mainstream, we're able to make that line a lot more fuzzy. We're able to say, you don't have to give a hard cutoff below which these things don't rise to your attention. We're able to give you kind of a gradient where we say, beyond a certain point, machine learning is going to be able to capture that kind of pattern that, maybe if people in your industry or on your trading desks know that, I don't know, more than 30 seconds isn't considered a wash trade or something, say, well, there's always going to be the ability to flex that tool so that you don't have that hard cutoff beyond which you are, I wouldn't say blind, but where you have very limited visibility of what's going on in your industry. So I think both pre-trade and post-trade, you've got some really interesting tools that actually remove the need to make hard choices about what data you do look at and what data you don't look at.
Thank you. And on the business side, Dirk, you spoke about the challenges of complex supply chains, fragmented data. What opportunities has modern technology given you and given Cargill?
So when I talked about the messy side of things, it means that when we have our field traders, but also our traders in Geneva, doing counter trades, counterintuitive also to themselves, that's where AI can help them out, right? From a data standpoint, again, it's hard to get the right status, the right position to the other side of the world in an instant, and because it travels, unfortunately, still a lot of times via email and updates and so on. Capturing what's going on and bringing it to attention, like you said, is one of the first small benefits that we're taking. We're a little bit more cautious on the side of having it do real risk assessments. We have humans for this. So our world is both volatile, but also the variance that we see in the numbers just are frightening. So we keep it to humans.
Thanks. And Mario, how has risk management technology provided opportunities for you and for Petro-INEOS?
Yes, how you manage the risk. You manage risk, produce scenario. What you do then is to produce by simulations scenarios that are going to be the way that you decide. So you have the actual situation. For example, if you watch the forward curve, right, for LNG that you are thinking about, but after that, you decide optionality, and then you take really the position, is by the scenarios that you produce. And the scenarios you produce by calibrating the markets, by supposing that the model or the market is following such kind of models. And this is true within some time window, right? So within that time window, you can produce a scenario which is realistic, and based on which you can have some optionality value that is your expectation, right? The problem is the time window. And always that. But yes.
Thank you. And then finally on this topic, a business challenge should in theory be an opportunity for a vendor. I mean, are there any examples from Ben or Alvaro of sort of specifically working quite closely with partnerships with businesses and helping them solve these challenges? Or does it tend to be a bit more separate than that?
So I think perhaps one area which is not super explored, and I think that will grow more, perhaps from being in London, and that will give away my age. I remember recently, just today, one of my first Google searches. I was working for a British bank, and I Google gearing. What was gearing? Because I could not understand, the client wasn't in an automotive industry, and we keep talking about gearing. And what reminded me is how much we learn with technology, right? And how much technology changed the way we learn. And I think one One aspect that we don't explore that much, and I think we're going to explore more and more, is we actually spend a lot of our time in the business learning. And AI will come and teach us just to learn in different ways, the same way that technology has always done. So definitely something that as a vendor, we pay a lot of attention to.
I would say for my part, at least my experience has been a lot of risk managers and compliance managers have wish lists. They have a lot of things they wish they had time to investigate, or they wish they had the people and the tools and the data to run analysis on and say, I have an idea that actually in the market or in the wider environment, in markets that don't seem correlated with mine, there's actually some kind of connection going on. There's some kind of behavior that I could model if I had the just the free personal time, the free data available to me. This is what I think is going to attract quite a lot of people to these tool sets, is that there's all these things that we've thought about the market, we've never really been able to accurately pin down or at least resolve for ourselves. Is that true or isn't it true? I don't know quite how far these correlations can go, whether it's things like ice cream sales in Italy affects power prices in France, but there's these ideas that are a little bit out of the box and that I think would be really interesting to challenge ourselves and challenge the AI tools and say, can it do this? You know, what do I learn about working with the tools to do this? And I do encourage people to kind of throw open the box a little bit and say, given that we have these new toys coming online, let's not just use them to replicate what we're already doing, but a little bit faster and a little bit cheaper. Let's try and see what else is out there, because we might make some really interesting discoveries.
Thanks. Moving on to the second part about what's changing in risk management technology. And as usual, this is going to be a bit about AI and machine learning, the applications of AI, machine learning, and risk management. If we start with Mario and the challenges on the business side when it comes to AI and machine learning.
Yes, AI is changing a lot of stuff. So first of all, I can think really packages developed by several companies. I don't want to make advertisement, but you can make, by natural language processing, a lot of consideration that are going to the same job that a fundamental analyst is doing. That's why you are making a choice. If you want to use this kind of instruments, you are relying on machine, fine, which are instructed properly. You can calibrate them. For sure, you can normalize the information across different companies. So you are making the market more efficient and more effective. On the same time, same point, maybe you are changing the needs of the kind of workers you need. So you need maybe more technical person that is going to extract properly AI. Several times happened also in my office, a challenge between myself and AI, and I won, and I'm proud of it, because the question that my colleagues was putting was wrong, and I was using just some fundamental theorem to get a better answer and apologize of ChatGPT instead others. So it doesn't mean that you need to drive this process, but if you drive this process, for sure become more effective also the risk management, because you can teach the machine how your business works.
Yeah, there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of prompt engineering that goes into that. How about you, Dirk? Where do you see the challenges for AI and machine learning?
I just made or got a similar question in another session, and maybe this is also a challenge again to you guys. So, especially now that it sees a lot of adoption, these LLMs, but in fact these are matrices upon matrices upon matrices. Like this, I think it's an Asian game where you small ball you throw in and it goes down and blah blah blah, and it follows a distribution pattern. This distribution actually is, so where the pins are placed and how it distributes is not in your control. So as long as these models are not deterministic, they cannot be used fully to make deterministic decisions. So you can uncover optionalities. It's way faster to find scenarios that are fitting to you, but you have to understand what the machine actually puts out. To your talent part, I also mentioned, you need to understand how this machine actually is not reasoning towards an answer, it's generating an answer, which is a fundamental difference. So, well, let me finish it.
Reliable answer, which is worst.
It is a believable answer because semantically, these models are really way better than we are. I'm struggling, I'm Dutch, so I'm you know, English is not my first language, so you can hear it. These machines don't. They can switch into Chinese, whatever you want, whatever language you've trained it in. So, talent-wise, I would say you need to skill up on who you have in your teams, rather than thinking, oh, I can go for cheap labor.
And challenges on the vendor side, Ben?
Sure. So I think I'm annoyed you said that because I was just about to launch into my spiel about how I'm very skeptical on large language models in business. And yeah, you anticipated. So I fully endorse. I think there's a great deal of potential confusion, and I hope not from many people here today, but between the large language models we see in our everyday lives and the type of machine learning that in general I think is business ready at this point in time. I think all the problems you just mentioned are entirely correct. I think the standard of prompt engineering that exists in the general public and in business is probably very low. I'm not sure how we scientifically measure that, but there's certainly some papers suggesting that even if you are a well-educated person in business and you try to prompt engineer in the common LLMs, you probably will not do a great job, and you'll probably get very frustrated because the LLMs will not give you deterministic output. Exactly as you said, you can ask the same question multiple times in different ways and get completely different answers. You can repeat instructions to get more reliability. You can you can engineer anything you like to try and get an outcome, and it will always be probabilistic. So I think the danger is that people will take the outside context of LLMs and try and apply them into business. And I'd love to believe we were there, but I suspect it's years away. Beyond that, I think that there's the explanatory power of machine learning. It's the real concern I see, is that once we get an answer from an algorithm, from machine learning, I think the question will always be, how do we know the process it went through? How do we know what went into that decision? How do we justify it to someone else if we make a decision based on that information? How can we work our way backwards? And I think the algorithms, the machine learning that demonstrate some kind of explanatory process, some step-by-step reasoning that does not require an expert in that particular model to explain it, because then you get huge amounts of key person risk. The person who designed the algorithm has good leverage not to ever have to leave the company if they are the only ones who can interpret the model. So I think that one is the core knowledge and the machine learning being delivered in a way that can be backtracked, can be audited, can be reviewed and explained is the big jump that I think a lot of end users are probably waiting for.
Yeah, I think I would agree in general. Perhaps I'm a bit more hopeful that we can just integrate large language models with, let's say, our classical models, right? To just improve experience in general, right? So today, with very simple models, you can go in ChatGPT and ask the chat to run the model, and what it's running is not an LLM, it's just running the model, right? And I think just having more of that and adding context can also perhaps reduce a little bit of the red tape that we have today with more sophisticated models and just allow more people to play with them. And perhaps that's a development that will not take that much time.
Thank you. And then thinking about the opportunity side of the question, if we stay with, let's talk to Ben again, because, for example, prompt engineering should be an opportunity for a service, for a vendor. For example, at Bombardier, I have an AI service. They did all the prompt engineering for me. I can also drill in and see the reasoning as well. So all of those challenges can actually be opportunities for the right AI service. If you're getting AI and someone's just giving you an LLM, it's not actually a service. The service is the prompt engineering and everything that makes it more usable. So I'm interested about the opportunities on the vendor side. If there are actually any use cases and sort of examples that you're coming across like this, or is it more, more of the hype, basically?
So it's a good question. I think when it comes to using large language models in real life, or at least using some of the tools that are out there and integrating them into our software and our offerings, I think what we're really trying to do is use it in a, I was going to use the word suggestive, but that may not be right. In a way that sparks investigation and sparks the next steps in the process, but does not aim to complete it. So there's probably a better way of describing it than that. But if I'm an end user, let's say, and I'm looking at a risk analysis or post-trade event, and I want to understand, for example, how does this piece of data relate to a regulation or to an internal policy, then it may be that we can use our natural language processing to associate and to link the documentation, maybe even the legal documents, with the data and saying, okay, based on the computation we've done, this set of data, this set of transactions or orders or correlations even, we think lines up or has a strong resemblance to something you should be looking for. What it doesn't do is, I think, go beyond that point, because at any stage, if you hand over that kind of information and say, well, the algorithm said it was this, so it's this, no one is doing their job, and actually what you've done is outsourced to potentially an LLM that doesn't understand what it's looking for. It's trying to complete the sentence in the most probabilistically accurate way. So with the knowledge that the LLM does not really understand what it's reading, linking data, inspiring, pointing you towards sources, pointing you towards further reading is an excellent use of it, because it can access data that you might not have thought of. I guess I see even the small percentage downside as being really quite a dangerous downside for some of the use cases we see today, and therefore that's probably where I draw at least my dotted line.
So when you get out of the deterministic road, so you have just a lot of opportunities there. I think on prompt engineering, I think one question to scratch our heads is how much context you want to give to that prompt. So how much do you want the prompt to know about you? What is the trade-off there? I think that's an interesting balance to be found.
And the opportunities on the business side, Dirk?
Can I first get back to what you said? You have a company that does the prompt engineering for you, and it shows you the reasoning.
Analytics AI service. We put all of our data into it. It was built by a trader with a sort of Google AI team as well. And they basically, this ex-trader spent 12 months tapping questions into it and sort of refining the answers, sense checking and testing the outputs, because as a trader and as an analyst, he would know them. And then also, one of the functionalities is you can basically drill in and see the reasoning that it's gone through to give you those answers there.
Yeah.
It's all very impressive, a very small company. I think we were their third client. And then we're working hand in hand with them, because the more that we use it, the more that we help improve their prompt engineering. I think the guy who owns it, his point was that, at the moment, this is the most stupid it will ever be.
That is interesting, because I'm more on his side of the reasoning in this case, because it is a probabilistic engine. And the folks at Claude have written a white paper. They write several, I think on a monthly basis almost, in which they proved that the reasoning its own model, but also the other models provides, is again a probabilistic reasoning. It is slightly related or correlated to what it outputted, but it's not related to it. So the kind of verification that you get from it actually is not precise. It shows you what you expect to see. So the reliability of that is very, very, very tentative. And that is for me, like I said, I'm more on your side of that equation. I think it holds great possibilities for, let's say, the softer side of the first part of the work that you need to do, the exploration. It helps you uncover things. Oh, I didn't know about this, and you can do some deeper research. But the true reasoning still isn't present in those models, and it's actually not built in that way that it can, because it's probabilistic. So by its nature, it won't work. Jan LeCun, actually, one of the leading scientists in this field, has said, "Yeah, I'm done with it. LLMs have had, they've stretched until where they can go. I'm interested in this more profound part."
Could I just, jump in there? Well, obviously endorsing that, I guess the point that I missed when I was possibly ranting a bit too long is maybe for LLMs, we talk about probabilistic model is exactly right, but I guess the question is, are they better than anything else out there? So if we say that a deterministic model or that a 100% ironclad answer will take us 3 years to find, and a probabilistic model can find it for us in 3 minutes, the probabilistic model may very well be the best model. I think the question is, can we prove that? Can we say that it's a bit much like with something like OCR. If OCR is not 100% reliable, does it mean we can't use it? No, it means that it should be better and reliably better than the next best option, which is usually a human reading it and typing it in.
You just need to be clear on your use case. Our use case for this is that it's a productivity tool to give a trader. He can do far more analytics now than he could before, and he is sense checking that. Like we wouldn't, we trust the trader to look at it and understand whether it was right or not. And I think on balance, it probably helps him quite a lot. So that's the test that we're running for the next 12 months anyway. So.
I will say one of the nice things about this technology moving so quickly is we're going to find out. It's not going to be in 30 years we find out. We're going to find out in the next probably 2 or 3 years where the state of the art really is.
I would like to ask some comment about that. So first of all, nature is probabilistic. So you need to accept it. Become deterministic after some threshold of energy in physics, okay? And economics is matching exactly the quantitative and quantum mechanics. That's why many physics, as myself, is working in finance. First of all, second point, the natural language processing, that is the algorithm that you are speaking about, and this moment is classic natural language processing. Doesn't mean that it doesn't understand the language, the human language. It's just play with the combinatorial combination between each words inside the sentence to understand the meaning. Doesn't understand nothing, so it just make it a combination. But when we reach, and we are already this level, to the quantum natural language processing, then the algorithm will own the language and will understand the meaning. It's just not commercial at the moment, but we are there. So then, exactly, a few years.
Just a quick question from the audience. Do you believe that AI can replace humans in taking middle management and trading decisions? I think we've touched on this already. I think really the answer probably from the panel. Ben, what would you say?
Probably not in the next decade. Beyond that, I guess it moves too fast for me to have any level of confidence at all. I would say right now, no. In the kind of short to medium term, even if it could, I don't think anyone would accept it as something commonplace in the industry. Or if they did, I don't think they should, because then regulatory requirements, audit requirements, the ability to find accountability for these models becomes very, very messy. So even if it were possible, I'm not sure it would be desirable. Having said that, we're at the forefront of the technology here. There could be something coming out that makes that all look very, very silly.
Yeah, at Radar, we're not actually ready to replace our developers for let alone trading decisions. So if you ever try that, you realize that it doesn't go that far.
I think it's possible that you could replace some humans, not all. Again, it would be that productivity question. I mean, probably as a small firm, we would look to grow our business, say, with smaller teams who harness technology like this. But I think the phrase that they generally use in AI is human in the loop, which I think will probably remain the case for the foreseeable future. Moving on to the last part of the panel, sort of talking a little bit about stress testing, navigating extreme market volatility. How does technology help? So if we start with the challenges on the volatility side with Alvaro.
Yeah, I think at this moment, perhaps the market understood. For a long time, we felt that we had moments of high volatility and then low volatility, and then during moments of low volatility, people thought that everything was fine, and then suddenly you have a panic attack. Everybody was looking for where is the freight report, because now the freight market went. I think right now there's just a much more maturity in terms of understanding. Okay, there's a structure, and these things will come and go. In such a way that, so if that's in one side, and I think in another side, I think a lot of the tools for risk management, for volatility, for a long time, they were a little bit just that scary, complicated mathematical thing that was not accessible. And I think right now they are becoming much more the beef and burger of the business. So people perhaps are passing by, passing that stage where you would just ignore volatility, or you would panic on volatility and just become part of what you do every day.
Ben?
Sure, yeah, I agree with that. I think agility for me is the short answer. It is the ability to very quickly adjust to new data coming in, and if you've got a proven model that has the history behind it and your internal certification around it, the ability to deploy it and say, the numbers may look very different, but I have good reason to think they're accurate, rather than assuming there are humans doing most of this work, there must be an error along there somewhere. I also think being able to say, well, I'm in a period of high volatility, what else can I stress that maybe is not current in the market, but I can do my what-if scenarios at very high pace, very high volume, and on very short notice. And frankly, I think that's maybe the overlooked part of a lot of the machine learning, is just the speed to deploy and to adjust without having to wake someone up in the middle of the night and say, please unlock your laptop so we can have a go on your custom model. This will be, I think, a lot more useful.
And same question to Mario. Challenges on the business side from extreme market volatility and how technology's helped you with those?
Yes, technology help, for sure. You can think, for example, the VIX, okay, to establish the volatility index. The beginning, when this activity started, was based on implied volatility of the Black-Scholes. Now it's a model free, it's a model independent. Doesn't mean that behind there are likelihood, so distribution probability that comes from the market, based on news and based on AI models, where the volatility estimated by journals, not only from the movement of the market, but also from Trump Twitter. It's an example, but it's true. That's why, yes.
And same question to Dirk.
So the ag space is a little bit less fast-paced, let's say. So it is an opportunity. Volatility in the market always is a trader's heaven, let's say, but in a supply chain that is viewed differently. So there are opposing forces within a company like Cargill, and that's where technology can help, because, like you said, the speed at which you can run through various scenarios is way higher, way faster, and you can even adjust your models on the fly, which is great. So yeah, I think volatility actually is a great testing ground for these kind of models. Predictive-wise, if a model hasn't seen these kind of scenarios before, it won't know, just like you won't. Then a human just runs on his gut feeling. Machines don't have a gut feeling, so they'll just put out something.
Thanks. And then if we think over the last 5 years or so, you've had COVID, the Ukraine war, and there's a trade war and all sorts of geopolitics as well, creating what seems to be a lot more volatile market environment. And then, so if we think 2020 to today, what improvements do you feel that we've seen in the technology over the last 5 years? Ben, how do you feel, say, as a vendor, you've grasped those opportunities and sort of seen improvements in your systems?
So I think there's a great deal of recognition that silo data is just not workable anymore, and that you can have a variety of tools to deal with it. You can have tools that integrate. You can have tools that will assemble, again, algorithmically or automatically data across different areas. But really that there's no, I was going to say no future in it. There's no sustainable future in these organizations if you don't allow tools to work across different silos. We've seen a few organizations now where data is trapped inside certain subsections or certain systems or certain business units that say, I bought this, you can't have it, or I bought this, I don't feel open to giving you access within the same company. I don't think anyone's really talking in those terms anymore. I think everyone's saying that when you have those kind of extreme events, there's no way that you can let individual asset classes or individual commodities or individual desks fend for themselves and do their own thing. It doesn't make sense because there's so many different correlations and so many different knock-on effects that we maybe assumed were kind of theoretical 10 years ago, and we can say now, no, they're not. They absolutely happen, and you can't build an organization without taking them into account.
Thanks, Ben. Same question, Alvaro.
Yeah, I think on the same, perhaps the same path, I would add that not only surely the silo question, but also, in the past, we have the image of the commodity trader, which was the physical trader, right, that would pick up the phone and would be like screaming to someone in the other side. And I think we've seen data literacy increase quite a bit among trading desks. And I think today there's a demand for much more like open data, right? And much less, okay, give me that report exactly with this structure, and I don't care how you got there, and much more, okay, show me organize the data, right? Let's have the data organized and structured, but then let me play with that. And I think that's definitely in that direction of less silos as well.
Thank you. Same question to Dirk. Sort of improvements you've seen over the last 5 years with technology at Cargill?
Yeah, I think I can just chime in here on the same kind of observation. So within these large organizations, those silos are wreaking havoc in your visibility and transparency. So what are you going to do? What is your next step? So this has been a great development that there's a realization. It doesn't mean that it moves at the same speed. The realization now is there. We can connect our stuff together. We can start to work in the same way. And that actually now starts to really fundamentally support, let's go into a architectural discussion. How should it work as a company? It might sound quite late, which it is. However, it's been a good learning, despite the fact, of course, that it was also very detrimental.
Same question to Mario.
Yes, the technology is helping, but is not the true reason for which it's helping. The true reason is because the number of data available are much more. So without data, no AI can work, or no algorithm can work. If there is no liquidity, if there is no counterpart, there is no way. So then the liquidity is for sure increased. The interest across energy commodities increased over the time. If you can think the decarbonization right now. So that's why more data, more actors, more interest, you can use more advanced model consequently. If you think the comparing the model between commodities and FX, where FX is the most liquid market in the world, and you can use the most sophisticated models because there is more data. That's it. Commodity is still not there, of course, but because there are more data, more interest, more actors, then the market is more efficient. You can use more advanced models.
Thanks, Mario. And there's a question from the audience for you as well, Mario, about do you think markets will become more or less efficient through the use of AI?
AI is another actor, okay? Is playing exactly as another actor in the market. Can be right or wrong. AI will be never better than humans. At least can reach humans faster, but not better. So then, yes, for sure, more liquidity, more efficiency, yes.
Right, thanks very much. So that brings us to the end of our panel. We could just finish with one question for each of the panel, which I think we would ask you, what is the one innovation or project that you'd invest in today for the next 3 years? Dirk, if we start with you. Which I get goes to Ben's wish list from people.
So imagining that you've done your fundamentals, so your data, your ERP, all those kind of things, you've done them together. I would like to stick with LLMs. Despite all the things that I've said, yes, I agree. There's nothing better at the moment to speed you up, but I would definitely look to beat that, to go beyond that. That would be the investment. Not to, hey, let's have as much as LLM as I can get. No, I want to see what's beyond that.
Same question to Ben.
So mine's much less ambitious, so I feel bad now. The short answer is the world's best automated testing suite. Because I think if you have any software implementation, any end-to-end process, you have a number of edge cases that you will never test or that you will never even think of. And you're right not to, because it requires the amount of time and investment that doesn't make sense. But we see extreme events in the world. We see weird little edge cases do happen. And I think not only can you save a great deal of money and effort and time to deploy changes to your systems, you can gain a great deal of confidence that your systems have been absolutely as ruggedized as they possibly can be. And I think you challenge your own understanding of how your end-to-end processes work. So it's more of an operational, I guess, a very technical solution. But I would say if you have an automated testing rig that can check your entire organization for points of failure, let's say overnight, everything else becomes so much easier just to manage.
Alvaro?
In Radar, we are obsessed with organizing and just having the data in a data model well connect to each other. And I think, the ambition is the one that we are after. I think we want to less and less to know exactly how we're going to use the data and more just to crack a generic model that even if I don't know how you're going to use, that model will work, right? I think that is really like the peak that we're chasing.
Thank you. And Mario, a project or innovation you'd invest in?
Yes, but also on this point, I come back to the original question. So more liquidity, more efficiency is maybe not the best way that commodity markets make money. So when we reach this point, because we are going in this direction, right? Maybe we are needed to think how to change also the way to make money in commodities market.
Very good. Well, that brings the panel to a close. So thanks everyone for sticking with us to R5.